Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Hotfix, ladies and gentlemen. And today, we're going to talk about the whole Yogventures fiasco, because that is my favourite word when it comes to Hotfix, but that's what we're going to talk about. So, Mr. Kirioth, give us the details before we...
Well, hey, this is the thing, right? Here
okay, give it me large.
Now, hold on to your thoughts. Yogventures raised nearly $570,000 for indie studio Winterkewl Games during the title Kickstarter campaign back in 2012, more than double its original goal of $250,000. But the project has since petered out and has now been disowned by celebrity YouTube partners Yogscast. I'm just reading from Eurogamer here. This is directly taken from the page. So, Lewis Brindley, Yogscast co-founder, wrote in an email to the game's 13,647 backers, "As you may have heard, Winterkewl Games has stopped working on Yogventures, but this is actually a good thing. The project was proving too ambitious and difficult for them to complete with their 6-man team. While this was Winterkewl's project, we put a lot of time, energy and effort into trying to help them realise their dream. Since we heard the news, we've been working hard behind the scenes to make sure that you still get awesome stuff and cool experiences. Although we're under no obligation to do anything," shut up dog, "instead we're going to do our best to make this right and make you really glad you backed the project." So,
Okay.
one of the things they've done, right, just to give a bit more context to it, the first step of what they're doing is to give all of the backers for Yogventures a Steam Early Access key for Tug, an open world survival title that's already in development, and Yogscast and Tug developer Nerd Kingdom last week signed an agreement to become partners on the project, replacing the role of Yogventures entirely. So they have given away a key. They've signed on basically with another developer producing another game that is similar to what Yogventures was, and in fact, Lewis Brindley has said, "In many ways, Tug is the game we were hoping Winterkewl could create. It has huge potential for the future. We've been playing the early access version on Steam, and you'll soon be able to see us playing the game on Yogscast channels."
Okay.
Which is what they were going to do originally with Yogventures, as you know.
Okay, so I want you to hit me with a stat, Mr. Kirioth. How much was the initial Kickstarter? Like, what did they want?
The goal was 250 grand.
And how much did they get in funding?
570 grand.
So more than double. Okay, so I noticed that during the, as you was reading the quotes off from that statement that was made, it does say that the team was too small. Now, if the initial team was 6 people, okay, and presumably the 250,000, the initial amount they asked for on the Kickstarter, was enough to fund that team in their eyes, then I submit this to you, Mr. Kirioth. Why was this not increased to a 12-man team? Right, I'm just doubling things here. What's gone on there? There's a couple of ways you can look at this, Mr. Kirioth. I think. This whole I'm seeing.
I've just been kind of distracted here. Actually, on the page, there's an image of Yogventures, like what it was going to look like. I think it's a promo shot, but I'm pretty sure it was in engine. Basically, from what I understand, from what I read, and from what was shown at when the game was shown off, Yogventures was, I'm not going to say Minecraft ripoff, because it wasn't. What it was supposed to be was like a way to build your own game inside the game. So you had like destructible environment, you could shape the world, you could basically, literally, as the name suggests, make your own adventure. However, it didn't look like Minecraft. Now, Minecraft is massively successful, but no one's going to argue that it is an aesthetically pleasing game. It is a bunch of literally cubes. That is the entire game. That's just what it looks like. While it was very successful, it was also very successful because it was essentially the first of its kind. Like, the stuff that it implemented really, really well. And although it was a small team that made it, in fact, an incredibly small team that made it, it also built up. So, like, when it first released, you could, like, mine, get wood, and make a house. And that was essentially it. And it's grown bigger and bigger and bigger with every update. What Yogventures was supposed to be was basically the, I guess, like, the finished Minecraft, even though Minecraft is never finished in development because they keep adding stuff, straight away. So straight away, for me, there's an issue there, because what they wanted to do was build a Minecraft-esque game where you make your own adventure with better graphics, a better system for creating your own levels, more user-created content that was just going to be implemented directly into the game at every and any stage, and all of that was supposed to be done by a 6-man indie team who...
Do we know what their experience was before that, or are we not sure?
This is the thing. I'm not sure. In fact, I shall
I mean, like,
Google it now.
to me, you can kind of compare this to the whole like MMO thing, where you've got MMOs which have come out after WoW and have attempted to kind of take on WoW and have not done very well because they haven't been polished enough to the standard people expect. But that's simply because WoW's been out for so long. Kind of the same sort of thing. I think as well, reading in between the lines of all of this, and we'll get onto the way Yogscast have decided to compensate people for this in a moment. But I think the game, what they've had created, which they did have. I have seen the game. I think this was. It wasn't E3. It might have been E3. It was some game event anyway. It might have been one of the PAX events or something.
Gamescom, maybe.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. But there was actually footage of the game being played. Like there was like this little like lava level thing. And it looked fairly decent. This voxel-based adventure game, as you say, very interesting. Well, fairly decent. But I think what's happened is you have to remember that Yogscast is a YouTube channel, right? Network, whatever you want to call them, yeah? And they make predominantly, Minecraft videos. So that means their audience is very used to Minecraft. So they want their game to be similar, an evolution of what Minecraft offers, okay? Now, obviously, as they allude to in this statement, where they say it wasn't turning out to be the game we wanted to be, it probably wasn't good enough to make videos on because, right, they put these videos on their channel, their fan base get really pissed. They're like, what the hell is this? Because they're used to looking at, let's say, the polish of Minecraft and all of its mods and God knows what. And then they get this really basic game shoved down their throat. And I think they realised, you know what? I can imagine them sitting down behind the scenes thinking, you know what, guys, we can't make videos on this because it is not very good. It needs to be sorted out. Yeah. Then they go back to the dev. And now I'm not sure how much the dev was in charge of the process, or how much Yogscast were controlling the financial aspect of it, or any of that stuff. But if it's a new studio, and if they're like Yogscast, what have they developed? Nothing in the past. It's like a lot of inexperience there. So I think possibly the point where they knew this needed to be changed, they go in and they say, we need to change this. And they're like, we're out of money, or we can't because we've done this. Yeah. If they're out of money, I don't know, because that is that is a lot of money, guys. But to develop a game, it's still not that much money, really. Games cost a lot to develop. But I reckon that's
especially
what happened. I honestly do.
Like on the scope of Yogventures, because let's face it, it wasn't.
It
wasn't just like a pissy little platform. It wasn't like. That's a bit harsh, but when you hear the word, when you hear like indie games at the moment, there's a trend in indie games which is like the overwhelming trend for me is either incredibly artsy, so quite abstract concepts, coupled with really nice looking graphics, or it goes the other way where it's like an 8-bit adventure or platformer. That seems to be the two main avenues that I'm seeing stuff turning up for the most part. There is the odd exception. Yogventures was not either of those things. It was really, really ambitious. It was not a small game. It was not a small project. And to have a 6-man team working on something of that scope, especially when this is the thing, like, because Chris Vale, who was the lead developer, said that working on Yogventures was an amazing experience, and everyone at Winterkewl Games really wanted to achieve the very lofty goals the game set out to do. But lack of experience in planning and managing a project of this scope proved too much for our little team. Essentially, what this boils down to me, is that the team just in charge of the game simply just didn't know how to do it.
This poor management. Yeah, whoever was doing it is no, like, you would know if you're managing a project, you would know at a certain point in time, we cannot do this, or we need more of this. And they must have, whoever. I mean, we don't know. We never will know. How this was going back and forth between Yogscast and the what are they called, Winterkewl Games. We're never going to know because. Yeah. Were they sending, I don't know, reports back to Yogscast saying, oh yeah, the game's doing fine, Yogscast thinking, oh, it's great, and then when they do come to see it, it's like, what is this? It's not what you've said. Were Yogscast totally fine with what was going on, then suddenly just made a rash decision? Yeah. Well, we'll never really know. But I do think it doesn't matter where it's come from. Why would you? I don't understand. Like,
I mean, Vale did actually go into a bit more detail, which kind of makes it even more interesting. He ended up sinking more than 25 grand of his own personal money into the project.
So that would imply all the money was spent then.
The spending of the money that they raised from the Kickstarter essentially was like out of control by that point. I'm assuming, because to go 25 grand down of your own money that's quite a lot. And he actually says, I can't speak for the Yogscast, and I make no claims that I do. For their own reasons, they decided the game wasn't up to the quality they needed it to be to make videos supporting our pre-order business model. So there's like there's like crossed wires there, isn't there?
Okay, yeah. So
Winterkewl Games expected Yogscast to make videos
to keep promoting it, so they keep selling pre-order copies, but they never did it because it wasn't good enough. Yeah,
Yogscast weren't going to do videos until the game had reached a certain standard, which it couldn't reach.
So
because
this guy has then gone out and took a 25 grand loan to attempt to get it up to some sort of standard, and it's failed. And they've looked at him and said, "No, this is not good enough."
He also said, "We missed milestone after milestone and continue to come up short of the quality expectations, and this Yogscast didn't want to advertise the pre-orders until it did meet those expectations."
I can understand that. I can understand that.
Yeah, in fairness to Yogscast, this is something that directly has their name all over it. It's called Yogventures. Like, whenever you saw the game being played,
I mean, hell. We've already had our own game made, Blue. A team called Westwood Studio, quite a good studio. They made our games, made quite a few of them. And we've actually made billions of dollars off licensing out the sound effect, which was prominent in those games. I mean, maybe you guys are familiar with these games. I'm not going to say the name because you must be familiar. But we made billions off that. Anyway,
you know what they are.
We attach our name to them with pride.
But it's like that again. That is like, I think what it basically comes down to is there's like been a mix of miscommunication. There's been a business model that doesn't tie in to what basically the people whose name is on the game wanted. So they had the pre-order business model, which was supposed to fund development, but the people who were literally in the game and had their names plastered on it were not going to advertise the pre-orders unless the game was.
And they were the advertising agency for the game, basically. And they just said no.
But the game
and they're like, whoa.
That because it wasn't up to the standard that they were willing to put their name, like, outwardly advertise.
And you know what?
Fact that they were
Yogscast must have controlled the kind of like the distribution of this. So can you imagine if you're the developer and you're working with Yogscast, but they say we don't like it, they must have had a conversation where said, well, can't somebody else promote this? And they're like, no, because we own the kind of rights to the game. No, I don't know. Like, and again, changing the name of the product and bringing it out as something else again would be difficult because everybody has backed it because they want Yogventures. But again, this is going to lead me into my other point before we get onto the way Yogscast are trying to attempt to deal with this and some of the language they've used in dealing with it, which can be seen as kind of dodgy in some respects. So, Kickstarter, ladies and gentlemen, is not a place you go to buy a game, right? You go to Kickstarter to give money to a project in the hope that the project actually completes, yeah? Now, in a lot of cases, it's not exactly super identical to what they say it's going to be. There might be slight changes, all right? Planetary Annihilation is kind of like this. Big on Kickstarter, right? The way the game looks on Kickstarter, it looks similar, or where the game looked on Kickstarter. I know that was like conceptual stuff they threw out. The game does look similar, but in my opinion, I think it looks a little bit bad. It could look better than it does. But everything else is kind of okay with the game. There's probably a list of loads of other stuff which have changed as well, but I'm not that much into it, so I can't really quote that. But you have to understand that if you go onto Kickstarter, you are not buying something. You are not, like, this is going to tie in with the terminology that was used in the
isn't a purchase.
No,
that's what it boils down to.
But this is going to tie into the terminology that was used in the message from Yogscast, which basically just said we are under no obligation to do anything because they are not. These people have given their money over and just said, please make that game. And I see this happening a lot, and people are like, fucking hell. There's a ton of things which have happened on Kickstarter. We've had fraudulent Kickstarters. We've had Kickstarters which just haven't worked. We've had the things like the Yogscast which just haven't worked out. And people start getting angry because they've spent money on this. And, I'm fine with you getting angry. I'm cool with that. People are going to get angry, Mr. Kirioth. They're going to get angry. Yeah. But you're not buying a product.
There's essentially a fundamental misunderstanding with a lot of people who use Kickstarter. They think they're purchasing something because in fairness, when you look at like the pledge system and when you look at the fact that you can get bonuses,
rewards,
for levels of donation, you're getting all these rewards. So it does look like that you're buying something.
Yeah,
it does. That's it. But you're not. You actually are not. If you look at Kickstarter, you look at the terms and conditions, you look at the way it's set up, the way it's run. It is a donation. Now, someone might be giving you something in return for the donation, but really, you're not paying for it. It's like you give them a gift. It's like Christmas. You give your mate a gift, he gives you one back. If one of you doesn't give the other one anything, then you're not going to turn around and say, this was contractually, I was supposed to send you something, and you were supposed to send something to me in return. That's not how it works. That's not how Kickstarter has ever worked. And so, whilst I can understand people getting upset, when Yogscast say, we're under no obligation to do anything, they're not wrong. They're not wrong because they.
But from the point of view, from
nowhere...
like I've seen a lot of hateful comments thrown around, and I can understand why. And they're like, look at these bastards, you know, we're not under any obligation, but it's almost like they're trying to spin the situation to say, well, we fucked up, but we're under no obligation to help you out, but we're going to help you out, and we'll give you keys to this other game, and we'll do other stuff which they haven't disclosed yet, I don't think. But I'm pretty sure that the other stuff will, like, because there was some pretty crazy, like I think quite a few people, well, maybe 3 or 4 people took up $10,000 thingies. But I think one of the rewards with that was dinner with the Yogscast. I think they'll most likely still get dinner with the Yogscast, you know, and stuff like that. They probably will do. But in terms of the actual product you're getting at the end, you're getting nothing. Now that Yogscast could have been like, it almost sounds like we're kind of defending them, but we're not. But Yogscast could have been absolute arseholes and just said nothing. Right?
Yeah,
how would this have affected them? How would this have affected them? Well, it would have been bad press for them, which is never going to be good, okay? Even though people say it would be, it would never really be that good. But I don't think it would entirely damage them that much, okay? Instead, they've tried to salvage the situation because they know a lot of money has been sunk into this. How much money is left? I mean, like we said, there's probably none left if this guy was putting, you know, his own... I mean, again, we could say maybe Yogscast have got the money in an account, and we're just, whoa, I've gone really dark.
Good Lord, has the sun gone in?
I don't know.
That is spooky.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to carry on like this anyway. So maybe, right? Like it's getting intense. Maybe they got the cash and they were only releasing it when certain things were met, and because they wasn't being met, they weren't releasing the cash. So now that guy went out and took a loan and to try and get it up, and they still said no. So maybe they've got 300 grand in the bank account. We don't know. We never will know. Like, but I would like to believe they don't. You know. But the biggest thing with all of this, and it comes down to what Yogscast is, okay, and what they actually want to do in terms of like their image and what they've got. We're in a unique position because we're a YouTube channel, and we could kind of say the same thing. So if we had like a game developed for us, okay, which is about making tea, right? The tea simulator. I think there actually is one of these. But we didn't like the way it was coming out, right? Because it involved too much production of coffee, which is terrible, right? So we're like, this is shit. We're not putting our name to it. Yet we've said we were going to put our name to this, right? But we know that if we start making videos on this on our channel, all of the tea fanatics will get really angry and leave the channel, right? Because it's a game about coffee when we wanted tea. So we made a decision, in my crazy dark hellhole, we made a decision to just make no videos on this, so the game collapses. And it's kind of, I think, the same situation with Yogscast, I think. I'm also going to turn my lights on while you talk. I'll be right back.
I think it's I mean, we've said a couple of times now, it's a combination of things, but when something has got your name on it, it's got to live up to a certain standard. It's got to live up to your standard. And if the Yogventures game was not living up to the standards that the Yogscast had set out for it, if the business model was that they advertise the game that they wanted, you know, that's the key thing here, the game that they wanted, and that was how it was going to build up and get through development, and it wasn't the game they wanted, they're not going to advertise it. Because if they said, this is what this game is, this is what it's going to be amazing, and we're going to play it all the time. If they then do videos, and it's like, well, it's not really what we said it would be, it's not really what we wanted, but here it is anyway, it's kind of in that the way it's happened for them. I think, to be honest, it's a bit of a lose-lose, because it's like if they did videos on a game that was subpar that had their name on it, it would be like, oh my god, this game's terrible. Why the hell are they advertising this? They didn't want to advertise the game that they felt did not live up to standard, and so the game that they had put their name on has failed. It's like they kind of. It's a bit of a shitty situation, really, because
I think
they couldn't really go.
Fuck you, sun, lights, and all the rest of this shit. This light isn't powerful enough. This light doesn't work, and this is whatever. But I think, Mr. Kirioth, a lot of it comes down to the way it was funded, though, because it's funded through Kickstarter. If they'd gone and taken a fucking bank loan out to develop a game for $500,000, right? Nobody'd care. They'd just be like, Yogscast game cancelled. It's fine. But the problem is, it's not. It's because they've got their money from the public, right? And then people get angry because they don't have the product that they fucking wanted. And I can completely understand that. You know, Yogscast, right? Listen. Yogscast could have still fucking provided this product. This is the other way to look at it. They could have still provided the product, yeah? They could have made videos on the game. They could have drove more pre-orders, all of that stuff. And it could have resulted in more cash for the game, so it could have been made. So what if it's not the game, right? I think there's a lot of it's delusional, really, because I think that they thought they were going to make this game that they put forward on Kickstarter, and we know that in pretty much every case, it's never really the game that was put forward on Kickstarter. It's slightly different in some respect, yeah? When they're starting to be kind of, let's say, drastically different, they start getting worried, and it's like, oh God, we can't really promote this game. So as I said, probably because of their whole image and all the rest of the stuff that they do with Minecraft and other games, they decided not to do it because it's going to make their channel look worse. It's going to, reduce their views or whatever, and they didn't want to do it. But the fact remains, they still could have probably pushed this through, and hell, they could have probably dipped into their own pockets and funded the fucking thing anyway. And this is like, this is the problem. This is the problem that I've got with it, and I think the problem most people have got with it, where it is a game that still could have been made, but they've decided not to make it simply because they did not want it. And it's like, that's we spoke about the problems with the management. We spoke about the problems with not having enough people in the team, but this could have been rectified. This could have been rectified if it was identified early enough. It's just communication.
Once you get to a certain stage as well, I mean, putting your name on a game, especially if you're a YouTube channel, is like, oh, okay, it's a big step. It's a very big step. But as far as I know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall there being really a precedent for this, where a YouTube channel has become big enough, where they've become popular enough to go.
How are Rooster Teeth funding their game? They're making a game, but I don't think they're doing it. Well, they might be doing it on Kickstarter. No, they do it on Indiegogo, ain't they? Was that a film?
No. Yeah, they funded. Well, they're doing what they always do, which is make it incredibly stupid to describe. But they had already funded the film, but they then asked for more money to like increase special effects and all that kind of thing. And
but they're making a game as well, though, aren't they?
Yeah, someone made a fan game of their Ruby series, and they liked it, so they hired him. So now he's making the game for them.
They are just paying.
He started making it independently. So, but it's like, to that to me is like, that obviously wouldn't work in the context of Yogventures just because of what that game was going to be, but it kind of they set a precedent. Yogscast, they're quite good at setting precedents, but they've set a precedent where I don't think any other YouTubers tried this before. I don't think any of the YouTube channel has sat there and gone, okay, we're big enough, we're popular enough, we can get the funding.
It's very different though. It is very different though, isn't it, Mr. Kirioth? If you specialize in video production, to suddenly go and make a game, it's like it's like being a car enthusiast.
Why you hire a game studio.
Oh well, exactly.
But then they hired a really small studio, so it's
with no experience.
Which I think, all in all, I think there was just essentially bad. I mean, not to be harsh, but a kind of poor judgment call all around. I think the game was probably too ambitious for the amount of.
I know what's gone on here. They've been sitting down and it's like, hey guys, we've got the opportunity here to make a game. And if somebody threw that in front of us, right? Because if we were the same size as Yogscast, we'd be like, well, this is cool. Let's do it. That's probably, in all honesty, that's probably what it was. This is going to be good fun. It's going to be exciting. Let's get it going. As soon as the project starts, they begin to realise that game production is not actually as easy as they thought it would be. So they start having problems, and then it just spirals out of control. And instead of killing the project off when they should have done, right, and offering people refunds, because I think they should still do that. I think
they let it linger. The project has been dragged out essentially.
Well, way too long. It has to be
way too long. And I think the other thing as well is that this is like wild conjecture, right? But
we love wild conjecture.
You've got a 6-man team.
Wild.
They've got 570 grand to play with. Do you sit that team down and go, I want a voxel-based Minecraft-type game where you can make your own maps, your own adventures, and upload them to a central thing where anyone can download them and play them whenever they like? Or do you go, I would like a linear action-adventure with a nice indie style? I'm sorry, but personally, I'd be like, well, it's a 6-man team. It's a ridiculously complicated game. We'll go over the second one. We'll build up. We'll use the funds from the first to maybe fund a second.
But you don't know, though. Hang on. You don't know, though. I mean, I know you said it's wild conjecture, but you can imagine maybe sitting around the same table, the devs go, we can totally do that. We can absolutely build you that for this is when easy, we can do it. And you'd be like, oh, okay.
Just the other thing as well, did Winterkewl Games sit there and go, yeah, we can do that? And, I mean, did they honestly think they could? I mean, from what they've said, I have to admit, I think they probably did think they could. I think they bit off more than they can chew. Which, let's face it, they would not be the first game development studio to do that. No. And they're not, they're definitely not going to be the last. But if they're sitting there saying, we can absolutely do this, was it wise to hire a studio that hasn't made anything
I think this
before?
is just fucking amateur hour in the game development club. That's what this is. It's just like we can do it, so we're going to try, but really we fucked up because oh shit.
Yeah.
Now how do we get out of this? And maybe Kiri, they've been trying to work out of a get out plan for the last year or so.
I think we can, and we definitely can. Is what it boils down to. I think they thought they could. I don't think they had any idea.
I think it's easy to just slam people here and just go, oh well, Yogscast are the cause of this. Oh well, the game development company are the cause of this. Oh well, the Kickstarter backs are the cause of this. I just think everybody has played their part in this capitulation, and the Kickstarter backer, as soon as you hand the money over, it is gone. You have to understand that. You are not like maybe some will offer refunds, maybe some won't. I think they should have, but because you're not getting any kind of product, but it's gone.
This isn't going to happen, right? But I'm sure I actually looked at how much it was the other day and cried slightly. I think it might have been $140 on Star Citizen for the ship and the hangar that I've got, because I want that game like nothing else. Now, it's unlikely that Star Citizen is suddenly going to run out of funding and just collapse, because they seem to be raising $1 million every other day. But if that happened, I knew the risks. I did. I'd be upset, yeah. I'd be pissed off, because that's a lot of money for something I was really looking forward to. But if they turned up next week and said there's been a catastrophic error, all the money's gone, we can't afford to make it, sorry guys, but we can't do anything else, yeah, it would be shit. But I wouldn't sit there and go, you fucking arseholes, there's my money. Because I handed that over knowing exactly.
But we get this thing, and we've just gone into this as well. You get this thing of where the fuck is the money? You get that thing, like, people think they own, it's like, where the fuck is this money gone? But basically, even though I've gone into...
Age. Was it Broken Age?
Oh yeah, where he needed more cash, yeah. Where it's like,
God knows how much, and then it was like, oh, we need more. Now, in that case, it's like, where the fuck is the money? Especially since that was like...
But the game delivered, though.
Established game developer.
Kind of.
It did.
Why didn't Yogscast do the same thing? Why didn't they go, oh, hang on, we actually need more money? Because, you could say, well, it's going to be grander than it is. We need this, we need that. Maybe they could have, I just think they could have saved it. But I do think this whole, like, mentality of even like I said, I've acted a bit like this in this hotfix. Like, where is the fucking money? I would like to know, just out of curiosity, where it was spent. But it's like, you suddenly think like, well, hang on, you've got 500 grand. What are you doing with this? You should be doing something with it. Yeah. Where is it? If you spent it on what you got left, if you got 100 grand left, you should give that back to the backers. It's like, but none of it really matters. Like they said in their press release thing, we're under no obligation to give it you back. Who knows if they've even got it? But they're under no obligation. Yeah. They are under no legal obligation to give you the money back. You willfully donated on the hope that a project would be completed. And I tell you what, Mr. Kirioth, we're going to fucking see this. It's every couple of times a year, it's going to crop up. This is a failure. This is a failure. What's going to be the next? Well. I see people going, Star Citizen's going to be the next big failure. Like you've just said, I honestly, I would bet money on that game not failing. That game will be a game, right? It already is a game, right? Yeah. But it will be a game, right? Whether it'll be as crazy and grandiose as they said it would be with all these fucking, well, what is it? The $50 million one is a fucking alien languages we're going to invent and all this shit. It's like, if it's going to be that crazy. Yeah. I don't know, right? But there is going to be a game there. It's not going to just be nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't. People saying that, I think that's full of shit. That's just not going to be a thing. But that is from an absolute fucking veteran of the goddamn industry who has worked for fucking massive companies and has worked on his own. And oh my god, you know what I mean? Who the hell are Winterkewl Games?
Like ridiculous good games.
Wing Commanders, fucking oh god,
for God's sake. But as you say, it's like no offense to them. I've from what I've read, they wanted to make it a success. They tried their hardest. It didn't work. They didn't have the experience. They didn't have the manpower. But in all honesty, who the fuck are Winterkewl Games? What have they done? What have they? They've done Yogscast.
Yeah, but why have Yogscast selected them, though? This is the problem. You can say who the fuck are they, but why the fuck did they go... They sat down and gone, who would be the cheapest? Oh, these guys would be the cheapest. Let's get him in. Oh, I know that guy. It's Big Dave over there from Winterkewl Games. Get him in. It's like, what's going on here? Yeah, it's crazy.
People like to kind of lay the blame squarely on one person all the way through. Honestly, I think I agree with you. I think... From the conception of Yogventures, it's basically just been a comedy of errors on everyone's part. I think Yogscast thought they could do more with it than they could. I thought they could probably get more funding than they did. I think they probably thought that they were going to get a bigger studio. They then went with Winterkewl Games. Winterkewl Games didn't have the experience that they thought they had. They thought they could produce a project that they actually couldn't. They thought they had experience that they didn't. And after they collapsed, Yogscast is like, well, where the fuck does that leave them? It's like they've done all of this. They've got all of this funding. They've got their name on a game, and the game has just disappeared. And people are sitting there going, "Oh, this is disgraceful." You know, what are they doing? Where's the money? And it's like, well, yeah, it's not great, and I doubt they're sitting there going, "Lol, it all collapsed," because it's not exactly going to be a fucking walk in the park for them either.
No,
but I'd still suggest that at the moment they're at least doing more than some of the other failed Kickstarters, because this is not the first time this has happened, and it will not be the last. Kickstarter projects will fail, they will not deliver, people's money will be gone on nothing, and okay, it's not ideal getting a key for a completely different game when you backed Yogventures, but the alternative is that they could have said, well, Yogventures was made by Winterkewl, it had our name in it, it's nothing to do with us. Sorry about that, off you go, on your way, get on your bike. I mean...
Well, I think we've put forward our kind of views on this, guys, but what I want to know in the comments below is, where do you think the blame lies? And I want a good reason for this. I don't just want, fucking Yogscast, or the game dev, or the Kickstarter backers, or whatever. I want a reason. You know, I want to see... The comments in Hotfix are usually pretty good anyway, but I do want to see an actual legitimate reason.
I just thought of something else as well, quickly, just whilst I think about it. When you look at the games industry as a whole, there are failed games all over the place. There are also games that have been that have been passed from studio to studio, that have been delayed by years and years. I mean, let's take a look at recent examples. Alien Colonial Marines, totally shit. It was terrible. It was passed from one place to another, and the end product was just a pile of shit. Duke Nukem Forever, again, that game just became a running joke in the industry. It took like a decade to make, and it was terrible. Those games are big profile. They made a splash when they came out, and people go, "Oh, they're not very good." In a way, it's almost like I say an overreaction. I think this is a more explosive reaction, just because Yogscast aren't games developers. Winterkewl are not veteran game developers. One's a YouTube channel, one's an indie game developer,
and they also
had a big public profile, and it didn't deliver.
The timing is not very good either, especially when you've got a lot of the YouTube supposedly channels being bought out to fucking make stuff and all the rest of stuff. I mean, I know we haven't made a specific hotfix on this, but I'll just cap this hotfix off with my thoughts on this. If you're going to do a branding deal, you need to actually state that you're doing the branding deal. You need to say in your video, you need to kind of say in your description, and you need to... Your fans, it's kind of a trust thing. You know, if we're going to make a branding deal video on like World of Tanks or whatever, you've got to trust our opinion that we've not been swayed by that game, which we hadn't, because but again, this is like for another debate. But I do think that because there's this there is a hate wave, let's say, towards the larger YouTube channels who get all these deals, and then suddenly they've done this. It's like, oh, you stupid fuckers.
The timing is terrible.
If I was in their PR department, I'd say, guys, no, we need to wait. But they didn't. So
yeah, it's like the timing's terrible, and the timing is terrible for a project that didn't pan out, that in itself was a mistake. So it's just one mistake following another mistake at a time where everyone's going, look at all the mistakes these people are making. I think no matter when they talked about this, when they'd formally declared it dead and tried to move on and give people what they can, I think no matter when they did it, there would be a bit of a backlash, but now is like the absolute worst time. I've seen a couple of comments where people are saying they're only mentioning it now because there's so much hate going around for sponsored videos and promotional videos and stuff, and they're trying to bury it. You don't bury this. You can't bury it. It's 570 grams worth of game disappearing into the ether, and the people whose name was on it giving keys for another game. Now, again, it's like, where does the blame lie? Where do you think the blame lies? Do you think it's just like one mistake after another? I think people just overestimated what they're capable of, frankly. Well, I think all the way through, everyone just overestimated vastly what they could do and what they could put out and how much stuff would cost. And the result was that because a bunch of people with no experience in what they were trying to do came together to make it, it didn't work. I mean, that can apply to every walk of life. It just depends on whether, I suppose, you're swayed by whether you backed it, whether you think you're getting a fair deal with them trying to give you keys for the games, whether you think that's unacceptable.
Let us know in the comments, guys.
Sorry for them, but
I
think it was a bit of a mess up as well. So
but like we said, amateur hour.
It was easily preventable by just not doing it. So it's like it kind of goes both ways.
Or it could have worked if it was managed properly. This is the thing. Let us know, but we could be here all day. So comment below. Let us know what you think on this whole situation with the Yogventures Kickstarter campaign disappearing into nowhere, and all of that stuff. All right, guys, so this has been Hotfix. We are Unit Lost. If this is the first video you've seen of Unit Lost, then please subscribe because there'll be more of this magical stuff. You can follow me on Twitter, which is at Unit Lost Gaming. You can follow Kirioth. He's at Kirioth. Also, we do live stream quite a lot on twitch.tv/Unit Lost, so check that out as well. And I think we'll leave it at that, Mr. Kirioth. Any final words or dances, or show us the dog? Show us the dog. Show us the dog.
I can show the dog.
Yeah.
Dog incoming.
No.
Dog!
Is it dead?
Close.
No, it moved.
It moved. Amazing.
Okay, it's alive.
That's what you're getting.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch you next time. Toodaloo.